Fungi. Here we go. So, about 500 million years ago, the fungi, the mycota, began to colonize the land and break down the dead plant material that existed. So, not sure about the years, but clearly they started breaking things down. So, this kingdom is composed of mainly soil dwelling decomposers, and they evolved from unicellular. The thought is that they evolved from unicellular flagellated, so single celled with a tail like structure to propel them along, protists. Okay. Um, Fungi only resemble plants. And most of the time, that's what people think, that they are plants, but they resemble them, but they are more closely related to animals when we look at some of their structure and everything. Fungi are heterotrophs, so again, they're not plants because they're not autotrophs, and they absorb. So how they eat is they absorb through enzymes on the outside, and animals are heterotrophs by ingestion. Fungi are heterotrophs by absorption. Um, Fungi have cell walls that are composed of chitin. So this chitin sugar here, and this chitin is also found, we'll see that sometimes when we move into the arthropods, into the insects, with that exoskeleton of them. And when we look at the outside of plants, the cell walls of plants, they're composed of cellulose. Fungi is composed of chitin. Now, most fungi have this symbiotic relationship with plant roots. Those plant roots, they're referred to as mycorrhiza. And the fungi what they do is these mycorrhiza increase the surface area. And remember when we talked about the more surface area, the more absorption that can take place, because you have more surface area to volume ratio. And so it increases the surface area and allows for the plant provides sugars for food. So the fungi absorbs the sugar from the plant. So we can have this endomycorrhiza, of course, endo meaning within, and endomycorrhiza, the fungus enters into the root cells of the plant, or we can have ectomycorrhiza, and where the fungus actually covers the surface. So if it's on the outside, it's ecto. If it goes in, then it's endo. And looking at the actual structure of the fungus, that you have these tubular filaments that are called hyphae, and the whole structure, all of them intertwined together, is called mycelium. And that mycelium means fungus body. And what that mycelium is, it extends below the ground, above and below the ground, and you can see it has this whole net-like structure. The fungi itself grows extremely fast, and the benefit, of course, to that is that it reduces competition, and all they really need is just moisture. Rain. They just need moisture in order to be able to grow, which is why when there's a lot of moisture, you'll see these funguses grow like crazy. With all the rain that we've had, we'll definitely see. I've already seen some in my yard, but depending on the time of year, especially in the summer, we'll see a lot of funguses grow. All right, fungus classification. Most of them are classified according to the sexual reproductive structure that they produce. So whatever structure they have, they're classified with that. So there's 6 major phylum. Cryptomycota, the sexual structure is the cryptid, and or the chytrid, sorry, I totally said that wrong. And they produce these flagellated spores called zoospores, and they are similar to, they look like sperm in the animal kingdom. And then we have this zygomycota, and the sexual structure is the zygosporangium. And examples of this, when we look at, well, here's the chytromycota, and you can see that chytrid here. And then here's the zygomycota and the sporangium. here. And examples are the mycorrhiza, rhizopus stolen off of her. Here's the black bread mold, is the common name, and then penicillin, which is the green bread mold. And so those are all part of Zygomycota. And then we have the glomeromycetes, and these are endomycorrhiza, and they're called arbuscular, and they're tree-shaped. So they have this tree shape to them, and the next is Ascomycota, and these are ascus means sac, and so you see this sac-like structure. The ascus is found. They're found on the large Ascocarp mycelium. The spores are small and dust-like, like Candida. So you'll see, sometimes you'll even see them puff out, but if you hit them, you see this dust that comes out of them, is what it looks like. And examples of these are lichens, different plant pathogens, mycorrhiza, yeast fits under Ascomycota, Basidiomycota. The Basidium is seen below, and Basidium means club, and the Basidium is found on the large Basidiocarp mycelium. And the fungi are very important decomposers. They break down the lignin of the plant cell walls, and examples of this, we can have these fairy rings, and it's just the way that they underground, that underground structure that's going on with the mycorrhiza. You can have the death cap, toadstools, puffballs. All of those are types of Basidiomycota. And so if you look at this, these are the gills underneath, and you can see the Basidia in those gill structures. The last classification, the last phylum of fungi are Deuteriomycota, and that's yeast. So these are what's considered the imperfect fungi. So there's no known means of sexual reproduction that we know of yet, and so it is it's imperfect. I mean, we just can't, basically we can't figure it out. Humans use yeast for bread and alcohol, so this yeast goes onto this Deuteriomycota. Candida albicans, that's the fungus that causes yeast infection of the vagina, and so mycosis means a fungal infection. And so if someone has some mycosis, and so what's prescribed is fungicide for this. Now the functions, the impact of funguses, you know, we may think of them as not necessarily very positive because they're not really very, you know, handsome looking, I guess you could say. But the ecological impact is huge. They're big time. They're decomposers. They're also known as saprobes, and we know sapro means rotten. So they're decomposing the dead, decaying things, and they're vital in order to be able to recycle those nutrients back into the environment. Some fungus plant pathogens are, you can see wheat rust here, or what's called corn smut. There's Dutch elm disease and chestnut blight. So these are all different types of fungus. And then this one here, human pathogens, you've heard people say that they have ringworm before. It's such a misnomer because ringworm is not a worm, it's a pathogen. And so it's a fungus. And so ringworm, athlete's foot is a fungus, jock itch, fortunately we have no pictures of that. Yeast infections, dandruff, these are all types of fungus. And then lastly, penicillin is, we can use fungus as medicines and as food, and those are made from funguses. Yay!